Welcome back to the Compassionate Capitalist Show. I'm excited about our guest today because, it's not often that you get a guest that has really walked the walk in such a way as my guest, Brandon T. Adams, has done today, where growing up, sometimes I've done these things where you have is it entrepreneurship? Is entrepreneurs born or bred? Well, he's really got kind of both of it going on. And we're going to get into it as I do the introduction and as we go into our conversation. But I want you, as you're listening, to decide, am I going to listen all the way through to this end of this? Yes, you are, because my guest, Brandon T. Adams, is going to share some direct experiences as an entrepreneur, the ups and downs, the struggle, the grind, the perseverance to reach the culmination of huge success, partnerships with the famous and successful entrepreneurs that you'll know their names, and telling the stories of Main Street entrepreneurs that get to the top of their industry, and just how do you define success? Because success means so many different things to so many people. So I'm going to for those that are watching on video, I'm going to let him wave at you right now. And then I'm going to say, let me tell you about him. Right. So Brandon grew up in an entrepreneur family, packaged ice business in Iowa. He and his father grew that business to a tri-state region. And in 2014, Brandon took over the business from his father. And it's called Adams Ice Service. And it was an ice distributor under the brand Arctic Glacier Ice. As with a lot of other successful entrepreneurs, he saw another opportunity, that this challenge, and I know we've all experienced it, of putting ice cubes in a bottle. I even had one of those trays with little skinny things that I tried to use for a while. And he invented the Arctic Stick. Okay. And some of y'all might even have one of those. It's available on Amazon. He put in about 100,000 of his own money and a few years of hard work, and he got that to market on Amazon, has patents and trademarks, but he sold that service and focused his energy on TV series Success in Your City, to share his experiences with businesses, with audiences across the world. He's a multiple Emmy award-winning producer and host of TV shows. I mentioned Success in the City. That's how different people define their success. Ambitious Adventures, another one of his shows, and another one that was Emmy nominated was Live to Grind. He now uses his knowledge of branding, promotion, entrepreneurial grind, the ability to scale and pivot for his clients, and coaching them in programs for them to be able to use his experience and achieve this similar success and as he has. And he is an expert in video production and video marketing, helping companies grow their revenue and brand, and using that to tell a story for fundraising, with a whopping 60 million to date with his to his credit. So telling stories with video is really important. Another feather in his hat was that, and this is one that's near and dear to my heart, he was the youngest featured cast member and associate on the producers for Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. Long-term listeners of the Compassionate Capitalist Show may recall the Think and Grow Rich executive leadership podcast series I did many years ago, I produced. So he's closed 5, 6, 7-figure deals with business partners such as Kevin Harrington. That's one of the famous people I said you'd hear about, the original shark, and then Jeff Hoffman of Priceline. So, wow, Brandon, like amazing all the things that you've done in such a condensed short period of time as an entrepreneur. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. That was a mouthful.
Yeah, it did. It was. I wanted, because it's so there's so much there that I think so many of the entrepreneurs that listen to this show can relate to, because it's not necessarily one of these, giant high-tech business things that people so often try to strive for. There's so much of what as part of the Compassionate Capitalist movement, is creating wealth through things that you're passionate about. And part of what I try to do for investors is to say, you can invest. Yes, you can try to invest in the company that's going to be the next Uber or whatever, but there's so many businesses that are just down the street with really passionate, hardworking entrepreneurs that can be that you can help be a silent partner in, be a financial partner in, to help them grow their business and achieve and do all of the things that a business can do in a community when it creates jobs and creates wealth for those people along. There's so much on the entrepreneur landscape that is fascinating to me. I love it. and so much that investors can participate in. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about your experience as an entrepreneur facing bankruptcy at one end of the spectrum and winning Emmys and closing 7-figure deals on the other end. So let's talk about that. What was the darkest moment in your entrepreneurship journey? And, how did you navigate that and regain your footing financially, your confidence and belief that you could achieve something different? It's so many times people plant those negative seeds in their head, and it's really hard to get rid of them, to not fear that the same outcome will come in the future. So tell our audience about that experience.
Yeah, well, I have many. I'll tell you, any entrepreneur, business person, or any individual that's achieved something monumental in life, they went through many battles and because it's not easy. And I look at it as obstacles or lessons learned that you can take and run with and make pivots with them. I don't look at any investment as a bad investment. I don't look at anything I do as a bad thing. I look as either I'm going to win or I'm going to learn. And so that's how I look at life. And I would say one of the biggest obstacles I had is when we were pursuing our show for Success in Your City. We were creating a show that any show I've ever done, by the way, we self-funded, we raised money through sponsorship, or we did ourselves. And we did it without a prior production, like distribution deal, because regular distribution deals, what happens is you go shoot a pilot, you go pitch it. And then if you get accepted, they'll give you funding and then they'll help you create a show, which is going to be more catered around what they want because it's their money. So it's anytime you're taking money from anything, it's going to be more catered towards that person. So I did the opposite way. And with that, obviously you're taking the burden of being able to not only be in front of the camera, but produce the show, create the show, casting, funding, all of it. And so we got into our second episode, and I literally, like, not only from a business financial crisis I was going through, buying a business partner, I was creating the show and had to fund it myself. And so in that point, basically I almost lost everything, negative thousands in the bank account. We were in a hotel room, literally no money, and down to my last dollar, and wondering, are we going to continue to move forward and produce the show, or are we going to quit? And that was really dark for me, because again, when you have no money, you almost have no hope, because it's like, what am I going to do next? And then you have your significant other there with you who's struggling with it as well. And you're the one that brought them on that journey. It's not easy. And so that was very tough for me, but I just kept pushing forward, and I had a lot of faith and hope. And luckily the work that I had done in the months prior to that had led to a deal that made me a lot of money, that allowed me to keep going forward. And I just kept going. And so that was a dark time, but I guess I would say to any listener is, if you ever go through a tough moment, you got to have faith. You got to make sure you're around the right people, because they're going to really determine if you're going to move forward or not. If you have positive people around you, they'll say, hey, you got this. And then I've also found out, when you hit rock bottom, you get like this superhuman power. Your mind, it's like survival, because like you think of the days of the cavemen, if they didn't kill something, they didn't eat. Right. And so in business, like, if I didn't achieve the goal, I have nowhere else to go but up. And so you scramble in your mind to figure out what's possible. And I've learned that. And it's actually a gift when you can hit rock bottom. And the reason why some people probably don't go and achieve massive success is because they don't put themselves in positions to hit rock bottom, because there is something there that helps you understand how to get to the next level. And so that's what I learned, and very grateful I learned it. It sucked in the moment, but it definitely taught me a lot and helped me achieve other things in life.
Yeah, it's that old adage of like, burn the boats. You got to go all the way so that you don't have any place else to go to achieve it, right?
Burn the ships. It's just like the story. So we produced a movie. I'm one of the producers of the movie, Thinking Towards Legacy. And I love the book. I read it when I was 20 years old. I'm 32 now. And that book, 6 years later after reading it, I helped raise a lot of money and produce the movie, and I got featured in the movie. But there's a scene in the film that we created around, it was these warriors, and they were literally on this island. Yeah. And the guy that, let's just say the general, the leader, said he ordered them to send a flame into the boats and burn their own boats. and he had them watch as he did it, and he burned the boats. And as the warrior sat on the island and looked, he said, look, we have no option. We either win or we die. There's no way we can get off this island. And when you burn the boats and you burn the bridge, you have no crutch to go back to. Either you will win, survive, or you will die. And so that's been the mentality that I've done in my life, is burn the boats. That mentality has put me in some very uncomfortable situations, but I've always came out on top. Always came on top. So burn them ships.
Is that where that story comes from? Does it come from Think and Grow Rich? Because it's like such a part of my, like, you know, or did they just use that?
So
the original story is a Spanish conquistador or something like that, an explorer, right? Yeah.
So they mention it, Think and Go Rich. So I believe it is actually part of the original copy of Think and Go Rich version.
Yeah.
But it does come back. I think it comes from a Spanish, like, actually background from what the original story, but that's where people say burn the ships. I think they got it mainly from Think and Go Rich, or they got it from other books. But for in terms of the film that we did, we had a whole, like, section. We had a bunch of warriors on a beach, and we filmed all that, and basically we showed the story that people talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk a little about the idea of, you know, these reality they're reality shows, right? Wouldn't you call them reality shows that, because they have
reality docuseries,
docuseries, right? And it's interesting that you just said that, because I had prepared that. I have a colleague of mine that she does these shows that are these kind of scripted reality shows, and she was explaining to me how the market had changed, and that it used to be you would package it up and sell it to a network, as you described, but now so much more of it is where people are buying the time on the show, on the network, and you have all these other streaming video things that you have. An individual has the ability to produce their show and to draw an audience and on, you know, online through the internet and things like that. So it's really changed the dynamic, and networks are not really taking on the risk of trying to make a show and whether it's going to be successful or not. And, you know, so you buy the time, and then you get your own sponsors, and you get your own advertising, and you do all the things that you described. So just elaborate on that, and of where it is now. So somebody's out there saying, I really want to do a show on this. What should they think about on whether they're going to do it themselves, or try to package it, or just don't even bother trying to package it?
You brought up a great topic conversation about buying time and funding and all that. I mean, that's the biggest thing, like, most people don't realize. I get pitched TV shows all the time. I get pitched ideas, and ideas are shit without the action behind it. And so you look at how is it funded. Even like Netflix, they're funding these shows. Look at the shows they're doing, by the way. This is a great example. They're investing in celebrities and people with massive followings. And they know those people already have a fan base. And you look at the fan base. Who are the eyeballs? And you look at that. Who are the people that are actually watching that fan base? Okay, the next step is, who are the people with money that want to get in front of that fan base so they can sell their offerings? Those are the sponsors. Those are the people that help fund it. So knowing that, they will create a whole series around celebrities and influencers, and then they will go have the sponsors fund it, and they're going and putting this content out. So that's one thing. Where does the money come from for it? And even you look at Netflix, they're so smart what they're doing. They're creating series, and the data they're able to know, like, who's watching what people like, and they're recreating series based on the data that they have, knowing exactly what people want, with some of the same actors, because people are already getting like and trust with those actors.
Right.
And so that's one thing. First thing, ask yourself, how are you going to fund it? Who's going to fund it? And so what I did, and I guess I'll put two sides of this. There's two sides to creating a show. You could do where I have a concept and I go shoot a pilot, and maybe fund a pilot, which doesn't cost much money, or I have like a concept that I pitch, a pitch Bible, a Bible book, where I pitch to a production company, or I pitch to a network. And I say, here's my concept, here's the episode, here's what it looked like, here's what it costs. And if they take it on, they may say, I'll buy 5 episodes or 6 episodes. They will give you the money, and then hand in hand, you will go create those episodes together, and you'll get distribution. So that's one way to do it. That's the way I never did that way. The way I did, which most people don't do, or hardly anybody does, is I internally fundraised it or spent my own money to create it because I believed in what I was creating. How I even got into this, Karen, was it was back in 2016. Some guy came to me and he had a pilot run of a TV show already shot called Ambitious Adventures. He said, if you help me raise money for this, because my background was fundraising, I will make you my co-host and we'll shoot the show. So I said yes. I helped him raise the money for season 1. We produced, we were both co-hosts together. We created a successful show. And then I realized I want to start doing more of this myself. And that's where it came about, eventually creating the show Success in Your City with my wife. And so we would go to different cities. We filmed. I had a production crew and everything. I was spending my own money I made for my own clients. And I was raising money along the way from sponsors here and there. And that helped fund the show, which is, by the way, the hardest thing you can do. And then once I did that and I got the show shot, then I went to distribution. And so that is like a totally different approach that most people will never do. And I highly suggest against it, unless you're crazy like me. But it is a way to do it.
Yeah. So have you gotten involved with product placement as a way to fund into your shows?
We did. And how I personally was able to leverage a show for my own benefit to be able to monetize was I was building a personal brand and influence, which allowed me to make more money in what I did, whether it was speaking gigs, book deals, doing coaching programs, or even getting part of companies on advisory roles. But in terms of like product placement and other things, we sold some sponsorships where people got to have a part in the show. Like they were in a scene and they were mentioned in the show. Or what we did is we would film the content for the show, and then we would have an extra half day of filming where we actually created video assets that we provided for the people to help fund the show so they could walk away with stuff. And then also we would give them the title associate producer of the film, which is film world. Like basically, if you look at anything, you look at producer, executive producer, these are people that basically help fund the show and bring it together.
Right.
Which is a cool title they like to have in Hollywood. And so that's really how we did it. And product placement side of things, there were some things that we did where something would get listed in it, but I never got deep into like having actual products placed. Like if you watch Stranger Things, clearly you can tell that Eggos are sponsored. You can tell that Coca-Cola, like they will write scripts and scenes that involve that product in the show and the actor eating it. And it's funny because that lead actor said on some stage somewhere that I actually don't like Eggos. So outside of the show, I don't eat them. And so anyways, this is a good conversation, by the way. This gives people an idea of like how shows are even created, because it comes back to the money.
Yeah.
How is the money going to create it? Because you got to pay for the producer. You got to pay for the guy with the camera. You got to pay for the scriptwriter. You got to pay for the talent. You got to pay for somebody to find the locations. You need to pay for the makeup person. Like there's so many things you got to pay for. Who's going to fund that? And so you got to figure that out and get the funding, which then creates it. And then on the next level of how people make money is the other sponsors and all that, but who's going to buy it? So maybe you look at a high production, a film, a theater, they're going to go buy tickets on a Friday night and they're going to go watch it in the theaters. They're going to buy in DVD. They're going to stream it. Or even the next level, what we did with Think and Grow Rich movie is we actually chose not to go through regular distribution because we actually got offered a decent amount of money to sell it to Netflix, and we didn't. What we did is we did digital marketing campaigns where people went to the page online and we sold it individually direct to the consumer and did millions of dollars. Yes.
Really?
And we even licensed it where we got it into Spanish and Czech Republic. So different countries are utilizing, and we're dubbed. So you can see me in Spanish, you can see me in Czech Republic, whatever the language is. But anyways, that's another approach you can take for doing film.
And is it available now out on any of the streaming service?
It is. You could literally just Google Think and Grow Rich the movie, and you'll find it. I think it's thinkandgrowrichshop.com. I should know that. It's but it's it's literally, you can buy it. There's like, it's, I think $24 for the digital download and DVD. And then you can buy the success kit up to like $250 and it's all there.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's roll into talking about actually, so I want to talk about the idea of success, but also let's just wrap this up. We're saying, so when people are out there thinking and they're coming up with their budgets and they're doing these different things on that, do they go to friends and family and raise the capital if they're new with this? Is it still something used to be that you could raise capital through reward-based crowdfunding? Is that still something, or has that been so inundated that people can't
Still
really
a thing.
raise? Still a thing. And
So
reward-based or equity, or a combination of?
So you can actually do a combination. How I did, let's give Ambitious Adventures, for example. You could look on Kickstarter. We did a Kickstarter campaign where people could pay at different levels to get involved in the show, whether a producer credit, get involved in an event, they get a t-shirt, everything. And we raised, I think, over 50 grand for that campaign. So you can do Kickstarter, Indiegogo, they're reward-based platforms. And there's also crowdfunding campaigns out there where you can actually raise money from unaccredited investors, and they can actually own a piece of equity of the actual film. So that's another option as well. Or again, the other route is distribution, where somebody like a Netflix, a Hulu, or a station will pay you to go produce X amount of episodes. Or again, you could do what I did, is you could use your own money to fund it. And then also you can get other people along the way that will give you sponsorship money.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. So, you mentioned that you had the show Success in the City, and I thought it was about successful entrepreneurs, but it was a whole different approach. So in the time that we have remaining, and I just want to real quick before we run out in the last minute, before y'all are sitting on the edge of your seats listening to what this success concept is, BrandonTAdams.com is the website you want to go to learn more about what Brandon is all about, the kind of coaching that he provides, how he's helping, understand this whole world of video and using that to increase revenue and grow your brand. So talk about how you came up with the idea of doing it. And then what was some of your, like, I was not expecting that. I couldn't believe that happened in the process of filming this at the time and putting it together.
Well, I'll tell you, for Success in Your City, we feature interesting stories around the country, from athletes to musicians to people that are homeless. And I'll tell you one specific story, and it was a big change for our life, was this guy named David France was living and sleeping on the streets for months because he wanted to support his own dream of creating an orchestra. And what I learned from him is you can do a lot with a little, and material things don't necessarily make you happy. I mean, there's certain things I enjoy, love, but it made me realize that a lot of things in my life I didn't need. And so after filming that in May of 2018, I literally went home, sold my house, and sold 99% of my material things. And what I had left was literally my Tahoe that we traveled the country in, and then a small storage unit with a few memorable things from my childhood that we put into a storage unit. And so that was freeing for me. So that was, I guess, one specific takeaway that I learned from that. But what I learned about success, and for all the listeners, is ask yourself, what does success mean to you? Society tells you what success is, whether you got to go get the degree, you should get married and have kids, or you should have a car, you should have money, whatever. That success is what you make it. So figure out what your own version of success is. And the sooner you figure that out, the sooner you will get it. Because once you know what you actually want in life, then you can put the game plan together to achieve it. And then you can surround yourself with the right people that can help you get to the next level. So ask yourself, what is success and what does it mean to you? It's going to be different than everybody else in there. What is your version of success? That was the biggest takeaway from doing the entire show. Everybody we interviewed is, what is your success?
Yeah, that's a great question for every entrepreneur to sit and reflect on. And even those, I think that one of the reasons why I started the compassionate capitalist movement and really pushed this angel investor idea is that so many people feel like, oh, they get frustrated with their job or whatever. Oh, I've got to go become an entrepreneur. I've got to go do this. No, not necessarily, because that's a different kind of beast. You can feel the passion and joy and it's okay to keep your day job and do that and contribute there and have time for your family and all that kind of stuff, and put some money to work in another entrepreneur that you can share in their success and their passion without giving up the things that maybe, help you be able to take off and do a trip and do the kind of things that you want to do in your life with your family. So as we wrap up, I want you to give a takeaway for the entrepreneurs and solopreneurs that are listening. What is the simplest way to create and publish video content on social media every day, or in general, if it's not, because each social media platforms vary by what it is you're
Yeah.
trying to tell and your story that you're trying to tell. But so many people feel intimidated by that and just don't. So is there really a simple way to do that every day?
So we talked about the highest level, creating a film, a TV show, cameras, all that. You don't need to do that. And actually 99% of the content I create is with a phone. So if you have an Android, you have an iPhone, there's no excuse for you not to create content. And all you do is get your phone out and literally press the record button. And the easiest way, because most people will say, I don't know what to say in front of the camera, what to talk about, share stories. So I always ask somebody, what is it you want people to know you as? So who are you? What do you do? And how you help people? In front of the camera, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's how I help people. And literally it's doing that, but also sharing stories of past experiences you have had. And very specifically, let's say if you're an angel investor, I've invested in companies before. If I'm an angel investor, I'm going to share stories of past investments I've done, some good and bad, and the lessons I learned, and then sharing that with the world. So then other people are going to know that I do an angel investment, and then they're going to be pitching me, and they're going to, the deals are going to come to me. So think about what you want to be seen as, and that's the kind of content you want to share with the world. And then you know who you're speaking to. So if I know my audience is, let's say, a 35-year-old entrepreneur that sells whatever they sell, I'm speaking directly to them, and I know who my audience is. And when they see that video, they're like, oh, that person's speaking to me. So you use phone with your phone, literally record content, record videos, and then post on social media. I post every day, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all these platforms. I'm always putting that content on social media, because the more people see me, the more likely they're going to reach out to me, to my website. They're going to DM me. They're going to be more likely to work with me.
Yeah. So don't overthink it. Just
No.
use whatever your authentic experience is to do that. And the irony of that is I haven't done it in a long time, and I need to get back to doing it. I used to, because I'd be talking to all these entrepreneurs all the time. And I don't know, you remember the flip recorder. So before we even
Yeah.
had a lot of, I'd put it on my dashboard and I called it, it was Riding with Karen. And I would answer a question that I had gotten from an entrepreneur. And I would be like, yeah, and then this entrepreneur, and I'd just be driving down the road answering the question for like, it was like a 40-second kind of a thing, right? Or minute. And then so it's part of the Compassionate Capitalist Coffee Breaks, is this email series I have that I send out. And it's like,
I love
and I'm
that.
thinking about, I don't even have that up on any kind of social media. Karen, hello, so I've learned something here. Hopefully everybody else has learned a lot, here from hearing you share your experiences, Brandon. Anything that we didn't cover that you want to make sure that our audience knows about?
Well, first off, thank you for having me on the show and allowing me to share my message with your listeners. Hey, yeah, you can find me on social media anywhere. And one thing I would say, and this is something I'm very passionate about, is I love bringing people together. I love bringing communities together. I love helping them achieve their own goals, share their story. I do an event every year called Rise and Record. And so that's happening this October in Nashville, Tennessee. It's riseandrecord.com. You can see the details, but it's all about rising up, sharing your story specifically through video, and sharing it with the world. And I've learned from film, TV shows, everything we've done, when you share a powerful story, people will be compelled to do something with that. And from a business standpoint, it's really actually the key component, what I've used to raise over $60 million now for different companies.
Yeah, using the art of video, and the
art of video,
storytelling.
but really it's the art of storytelling distributed through the power of a video.
Okay. Very good. So Thank you so very much for being on the show
Thank
today,
you.
Brandon. I have enjoyed chatting with you about this, and I really enjoy all the tidbits and the experiences that you've had that our audience has had an opportunity to hear from. And again, please go to brandontadams.com, and you have links to your other things there on that
Yes.
website. So there
Yes.
you go. And I also want to encourage you to go to karenrands.co so you can plug in, get the Compassionate Capitalist coffee break if you haven't already signed up for that, everybody. And onwards and upwards. Thank you very much.